Welcome back. The goal for today is to install 4 solar panels on the roof and 2 max air fans. I've got everything laid out here. Everything we're gonna need. I've got these mounting brackets for the solar panels, all the hardware included. I'm going to have a link for everything we're gonna use today. This is what you're going to use to have the solar cables go through the roof, which will be a watertight seal. Some branch connectors for the solar panels, some inline fuses, solar cables, a couple other things, but I'll have a link for everything. So you can just click the link and find everything you need. Before we get started, the first thing you want to do is clean the roof. It's pretty dirty, and we want to have a clean surface under the panels to work on. So I've got a brush and some soap there. I'm gonna get this cleaned up, and then we can begin. Okay, so now I've got everything cleaned off and I dried it off. Next step, I want to mark where all the cross beams are with some blue tape, because I don't want to drill my solar panel bolts in those areas, because I want to have access to the bolt on the inside of the van. So I'm just going to take some measurements and I'll mark that off. Okay, so I marked roughly where each of the beams are. So now I can start with the vent fans first, because once I put the solar panels up, it'll be hard to walk up here. Everything's all measured, ready to cut. You want to make this opening 14 inches by 14 inches. The piece here is about 13 7/8, so when you make it 14, it fits right in place. Measuring takes the longest, and cutting just takes a minute, so I'm gonna get started on that. I'll put a link for this blade. This is the Bosch metal blade for the jigsaw. This thing usually cuts right through this really easily. See if everything fits. Perfect. So now I'm just gonna clean up these edges with the file, and then there's a bunch of little metal shavings up here that I'm going to brush off so I don't scratch up the paint. So now we're going to use some of this butyl caulk tape to build up around the edges here. So what you want to do is get one layer of the butyl tape around the plastic piece, and then double it up over here in these lower areas. This plastic piece has the 2 screws on each side. You want to make sure those are facing the sides of the van, not the front and back. And now we can just pre-drill all these holes, and then I'm going to screw it in. Okay, that's all screwed in now. Definitely be careful screwing these in, because if you over tighten them, this plate will crack very easily. Next, I'm going to seal it off with this lap sealant, and you really want to be pretty liberal with this. Doesn't come out looking too neat, but it'll be watertight. Okay, so this is how you want to put this stuff on. And I know if you've used caulking before, you're thinking that looks ridiculous, but this isn't caulking, it's lap sealant, and this is how it's designed to put on. It kind of works its way into all the little cracks and makes a watertight seal, so don't worry about it looking shitty. Nobody's gonna see it up here anyway. This is how much you need. Next step, open this vent fan all the way up using the knob here, and then we can just set it in place. And then there's 4 screws on each side, tighten it. And that's it, all finished. Okay, so I put all the brackets on, pretty easy. It's just a flat washer, a locking washer, and then the nut. And they just go like that. And now we can go up to the roof, get these all installed. Each one of these positive sides is gonna get one of these inline fuses, so it's probably easier to put these in down here. These just snap in here. And now it just looks like that. Okay, so I've got everything laid out, and I'm just gonna plug everything in before I screw everything down. And I've got these clips that have double-sided tape on one side that you can use with these zip ties to organize all the wiring, keep everything from blowing around when you're driving. And I'll put the 4th panel up last, because then it'll be hard to walk up here. Next, I'm gonna use some of the butyl tape underneath each one of these brackets. So I bought these wing nuts that I'm gonna add to each of these bolts, just to give it a little extra support. These didn't come in the kit, but I think it's a good idea, just to make sure nothing ever comes loose here. Tightens it down nice. I'm gonna add those on all the bolts coming through. Okay, so these 2 cables are gonna connect into the branch connectors on the roof, and they're gonna go through the roof with this thing. So what I need to do is drill 2 holes for the 2 cables, the positive and the negative solar cables. And this will create a watertight seal. You want to use a drill bit the exact same width as the cable, and this will tighten it down so it'll be watertight. Once you got the 2 holes, the next thing you're going to do is cut it in half with the razor blade knife, right down the middle of the holes. So now I'm going to use this bit to make the hole in the roof. And I know I want it coming through right about there, because it's going to come down to my solar system where all my wires are coming through, right to over here. So get up on the roof and take some measurements and get it right about there. Okay, so now I got the wire through here. I'm just gonna pre-drill these 1, 2, 3, 4 holes, and then I can screw that in. Make sure you have your wire through the piece and everything already. All right, now we're just gonna put the rubber gasket around the 2 wires. So you want to leave a little bit of a loop like that. You don't want to try and make the wires too tight, going like at a hard angle, because that'll mess up the seal. It'll start pulling the rubber. That's pretty much it. I'm just going to use a few more of the zip ties and the little plastic clips to keep these wires from moving around. And that's it for the top. I'm also going to put a drop of the Dicor lap sealant on each one of these bolts. Okay, so that's what I'm left with in the inside. I've got my cables coming all the way down, and I've got them marked positive and negative. I'm not going to set anything else up on the solar today. Today was just getting the panels mounted and the wires inside. But I'll do another video when I'm hooking up all the solar.